The Galactic Council had studied humans for over 50 years. They believed they understood them. Humans were deathworlders, strong, fast, emotional, loud when angry, cooperative when useful, dangerous when cornered. And most important of all, they avoided war. That last trait had shaped every council policy. When humans first joined interstellar trade, they argued hard for peace treaties. When border conflicts happened, they sent diplomats instead of fleets. When alien powers tested their space lanes, they filed protests and rerouted ships. The council took notes. Humans are cautious, one analyst had said. Humans are weak, another corrected. That belief slowly became doctrine. So when the council began restricting human expansion, no one expected trouble. Trade permits were delayed. Research access was limited. Border systems were placed under inspection. Human colonies were forced to reroute supply convoys, nothing openly hostile, just pressure. And humans accepted it, at first. They complained politely, filed formal objections. Requested meetings. The council ignored most of them. Weeks passed. Then months. The pressure increased. Still no human warships appeared. Still no threats were made. The council relaxed. They don't want conflict, a senior delegate said. They will adapt. But one being did not relax. Zyrekel watched the reports with growing unease. She was a telepathic observer assigned to monitor human behavior. Her species specialized in pattern recognition, emotional forecasting, and threat modeling. And something about the humans felt wrong. They are not afraid, she told the council quietly. They are not angry either, another observer replied. Their emotional output is low. That is the problem, Zyrekel said. The council dismissed her concern. Humans were still trading, still cooperating, still avoiding war. That should have been reassuring. Instead, Zyrekel felt a pressure building behind her thoughts. On a small human station near the edge of mapped space, analysts watched silent data streams flow across wide displays. They pulled another convoy permit, one said. They closed a research gate in System 9, another added. A third analyst frowned. They think we're going to protest. The station commander, a quiet human named Captain Hale, stood behind them. We won't, he said. Why not? Someone asked. Because that's what they expect, Hale replied. Human command had already adjusted. Trade routes were rerouted through internal lanes. Colonies shared supplies, manufacturing increased quietly, training schedules expanded. Sensor networks were strengthened. Humans were not retreating. They were reorganizing. Back on the council world, Zyrekel requested a private review session. These delays are not weakening them, she said. They are making them stronger. That is impossible, a counselor replied. They lack the infrastructure. They are building it, Zyrekel said. The council ignored her. Then the first test happened. A small council monitoring station altered its orbit near a human research zone, not an attack. Just a presence adjustment, a message without words. Humans noticed it within seconds. They did nothing, no warning, no protest, no response. That unsettled the council more than anger would have. They should have reacted, one delegate said. They are afraid, another insisted. Zyrekel closed her eyes briefly. No, she whispered, they are measuring us. On Earth, a closed-door meeting took place. They're pushing again, a general said, and we still don't respond, another asked. A senior human advisor spoke calmly. Not yet, he said. We learn first. What are we learning? How far they will go before they think they've won? The room fell quiet, because everyone there understood the danger of that question. Back on the council world, Zyrekel felt something change. Human emotional signals across monitored networks shifted, not upward, inward. They stopped asking questions, she said aloud. What does that mean? A counselor asked. Fear replaces curiosity, Zyrekel replied, but something else replaces fear. What? Preparation? The council laughed. They avoid war, the emperor said calmly. That is their nature. Zyrekel did not laugh, because she remembered an old truth from human history. Every time humans avoided war, it was because they were deciding whether it was worth winning. And the moment the galaxy finally understood humans were not weak was the moment they stopped trying to convince anyone they were peaceful. The Galactic Council believed the silence meant victory. For weeks after the monitoring station incident, humans remained calm. No protests, no angry speeches, no military displays, trade still flowed. Diplomatic channels remained open. Human leaders spoke politely when spoken to. To the council, it looked like surrender without words. They accepted our limits, one counselor said with satisfaction. They know their place, another added. Zyrekel did not agree. She sat alone in her observation chamber, surrounded by slow-moving data streams and emotional readings from human space. Something was changing, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. Human emotional patterns had flattened. They were no longer showing frustration or fear. They were showing focus. That terrified her. They are not reacting, she told the council again. They are restructuring. A military representative waved a clawed hand. Every species adapts under pressure, he said. It does not mean danger. Zyrakel leaned forward. They are sharing resources between colonies, increasing internal manufacturing, training their fleets more often, strengthening sensor coverage. So, the counselor replied, so they are preparing for isolation, Zyrakel said, and conflict. The council dismissed her. Humans avoided war. That belief was too comfortable to question. On a human logistics world near the frontier, cargo ships docked faster than usual. Crates were moved under heavy security. No civilian press was allowed near the spaceports. A junior officer whispered to his superior. They're stockpiling, he said. Yes, the older officer replied, quietly. What for? The officer did not answer. In a secure human command center, Captain Hale stood over a star map. They slowed trade again, an analyst said. They blocked research access in 3 systems, another added. And they moved a patrol fleet closer to our border, a third said. Hale nodded calmly. They're testing us. Should we answer? Someone asked. Not directly, Hale replied. What do we do instead? We prepare the alternative routes. Orders went out. Human ships began charting deep space paths that avoided council-controlled lanes. New jump routes were mapped through unstable regions most species avoided. Human engineers reinforced civilian drives. Human pilots trained in long-range, low-visibility travel. To outsiders, nothing seemed different. To humans, everything was changing. Back on the Council world, the Emperor approved the next phase, a show of authority. Council fleets were ordered to patrol a shared system used by human traders and minor allied species. No weapons fired, no borders crossed, just presence. The message was clear, we are watching you. The fleet arrived in perfect formation, weapons charged but not aimed. Communication channels open. They waited for human reaction. It never came. Human trade ships altered course calmly. Civilian stations reduced traffic. Supply convoys rerouted through slower but safer paths. No complaints, no threats, no demands. The Imperial Admiral frowned. They're avoiding us, he said, because they are afraid, his second replied, but the Admiral was not convinced. They should be protesting, he muttered. Zyrakel felt the moment the human emotional field shifted again. It was subtle, like a door closing. They're done asking for permission, she whispered. A counselor overheard her. You're imagining things, he said. Then the first real anomaly happened. A council-aligned research station monitoring a human-adjacent corridor lost contact. Not destroyed, gone, no debris, no distress call, just absence. Emergency meetings were called. This corridor is unstable, a counselor argued. Stations vanish there sometimes. But not like this, Zyrakel said. The data showed a clean disappearance. No explosion, no gravity distortion, no weapon residue. Something had removed the station. Carefully. Back in human space, analysts reviewed the same corridor data. They were watching us from there, one said. Yes, Hale replied. And now they're not, another added. Hale looked at the screen. They crossed a line. What do we do? Nothing, Hale said. Yet. Nothing, an officer asked. We wait for the next move, Hale replied. Because it won't be subtle. He was right. 2 days later, a council patrol intercepted a human military transport near neutral space. No weapons were fired. But the patrol commander ordered a full scan. Human protocols flagged it as hostile preparation. The transport altered course instantly and vanished into folded space, using technology the council did not have. The patrol sent a stunned report. How did they do that? A counselor demanded. Experimental drive, another guessed. Zyrakel closed her eyes. They let us see it, she said. What? They could have hidden it, Zyrakel replied. They chose not to? The council dismissed the incident publicly. Privately, fear began to spread. Humans were not backing down. They were revealing capabilities slowly, deliberately. On Earth, a senior human council met. They're pushing closer, a general said. They're trying to force a reaction, another added. And we still don't respond, someone asked. A quiet human strategist spoke. Not yet, he said. We wait until they think they've won. Why? Because that's when they stop being careful. The room fell silent. Back on the council world, Zyrakel felt the pressure in her mind return. The same feeling she had before the last great mistake the galaxy had made. They are planning something big, she warned. They avoid war, the Emperor replied calmly. Zyrakel stared at him. They avoid unnecessary war, she said. This one is becoming necessary, the Emperor laughed. They won't fight us, he said. Zyrakel whispered to herself. They won't fight you. The difference would soon matter. The Galactic Council did not call it an attack. They called it a warning. Official records would later name it a limited enforcement action. A small move, a controlled message, a reminder of authority. They chose the target carefully. A human logistics outpost on the edge of a shared system. Not a capital world, not a military base. just a supply station that supported nearby colonies and trade routes, minimal defenses, few warships. A place humans would feel pressure to protect. Zyrakel felt it before the report reached the council chamber. "They are moving," she whispered. No one listened. 3 council cruisers entered the system without warning, weapons charged. Communication channels open. The Imperial commander smiled as he studied the outpost. "Send the demand," he ordered. A transmission went out. "Stand down and submit to inspection." The human outpost did not answer. "They're panicking," the commander said confidently. He ordered a precision strike, 1 clean shot. The outpost's main power relays went dark. Lights vanished across its surface. Cheers broke out on the Imperial bridge. "Message delivered," the commander said. Then the sensor officer froze. "Sir, there's movement." "From where?" the commander asked. "Everywhere," the officer replied. Human ships appeared far from the outpost, not a fleet, scattered, uncoordinated. At least that's what it looked like. The commander relaxed. "Desperate response," he said. "They're rushing." They weren't rushing. They were positioning. On Earth, alarms did not sound. Human command rooms remained calm. Captain Hale watched the system map quietly. "They chose the outpost," an officer said. "Yes," Hale replied. "They think this will scare us." "They think we'll overreact," another added. Hale nodded. "They don't understand our rules of response." "What are our rules?" someone asked. Hale answered simply, "We do not escalate first." Back in the system, the human ships ignored the council cruisers. They flew past them. Instead, they formed a wide perimeter around the system. Sensor nets bloomed, data links flared and stabilized. Backup relays activated. The outpost came back online. Power restored, systems stable. The Imperial commander stared at his display. "They restored it already?" Before he could issue another order, his ship lurched, not from impact, from gravity. Space twisted around the cruiser, not enough to crush it. Enough to break targeting locks. "Report," he shouted. "Localized distortion," the sensor officer said. "No weapon signature." The second cruiser lost engines seconds later, not destroyed, disabled. The third tried to retreat. It couldn't. Human ships finally transmitted a message, not to the cruisers, to each other. Calm, precise coordination flooded the system. The Imperial commander felt something cold settle in his chest. "This isn't defense," he whispered. Human boarding teams launched. No heavy weapons, no explosions. They cut into hulls, moved through corridors, disarmed crews, restrained officers, treated injuries. Imperial soldiers were confused, terrified, alive. On the outpost, the human commander sent a single message. "You are trespassing. Disengage immediately." The Imperial commander stared at the words. "This is impossible," he whispered. The humans did not pursue. They did not threaten. They released the cruisers, disabled, stripped of data, marked. Back on the council world, the chamber erupted. "They humiliated us," one counselor shouted. "They boarded Imperial ships. They violated." Zyrakel's voice cut through the chaos. "They responded proportionally," she said. The room went quiet. "They did not destroy a single ship," she continued. "They did not kill a single soldier." "They still attacked us," someone shouted. Zyrakel shook her head. "No," she said. "They demonstrated control." The intelligence officer turned to her. "They could have destroyed the fleet," he said slowly. "Yes," Zyrakel replied, "and they chose not to," the Emperor spoke at last. "This changes nothing," he declared. "They still lack the power to challenge us openly." Zyrakel looked at him. "They lack the desire," she said. Across human space, the incident was analyzed, not celebrated. Lessons were logged, tactics refined, data archived. Human soldiers returned to training. Preparation deepened. They had confirmed something important. The council would escalate, and now humans knew exactly how far they could push back without starting a war. Back on the council world, Zyrakel stood alone later. She remembered something from human history. Every time humans avoided war, it was because they were deciding if the war was worth winning. She whispered into the quiet room. "They're still holding back." That frightened her more than any fleet ever could, because she finally understood the truth. Humans did not avoid war because they were weak. They avoided war because once they started, they finished it. The Galactic Council could not accept what had happened. Not because their ships were boarded, not because their systems were disabled. Those things could be explained away. What they could not accept was the way humans had done it. Calm, controlled. Without rage, without celebration. The human outpost returned to normal operations within hours. No public statement. No threats, no demands. That silence burned more than any insult. "They embarrassed us," one counselor said. "They showed restraint only to look superior," another added. "If we do nothing, others will see weakness." The Emperor listened in silence. Then he spoke. "We will restore order," he said. "Decisively." The order went out under sealed authority. A full Imperial task force would move into the border systems. Not to destroy, not yet. To occupy, to enforce. It would be large enough that humans could not ignore it. Zyrakel felt the decision like a weight in her chest. "This is a mistake," she said quietly. The intelligence officer beside her hesitated. "They won't risk open war," he said. "They know they can't win." Zyrakel turned toward him. "They don't need to win," she said. "They only need to endure." The Imperial fleet moved as one. Dozens of ships slid into formation. Their arrival was visible across multiple systems. The message was clear. "We decide where you are allowed to exist." Human response came quietly. Civilian traffic rerouted. Colonies shifted supply chains. Defense networks synchronized across regions the Empire had never fully mapped. The task force entered the first system. No resistance. Then the second, still nothing. Then the third, Imperial commanders relaxed. "They're backing down," one said. "They learned their place," another added, but something felt wrong. Sensors returned incomplete data. Communications lagged. Supply ships took longer to arrive, nothing hostile, just inconvenient. At the edge of the occupied zone, a single human patrol vessel appeared. It held position, weapons cold. An Imperial cruiser hailed it. "You are operating in restricted space," the commander said. "Withdraw." The human reply was calm. "This system has shared status," the voice said. "You are exceeding agreed presence limits." The Imperial commander laughed. "According to whose authority?" "According to the treaties you signed," the human replied. The channel closed. Hours later, the human ship was gone, not destroyed. Just gone, back on the Council world, Zyrakel reviewed the reports. Imperial fleets were burning more fuel than expected. Maintenance cycles increased. Crew fatigue reports climbed. Humans had not attacked. They had stretched the Empire thin. Zyrakel spoke to a council session. "They are turning your strength against you," she said. "They're forcing you to maintain control everywhere at once." A councillor scoffed. "We have done this for centuries." "Yes," Zyrakel replied, "against enemies who fought back directly." The first fracture came when a minor Allied system refused Imperial docking rights. "They cited human trade agreements," an officer reported. "They claim neutrality." The Emperor's claws tightened. "Then they are no longer allies," he said. Orders were given to seize control of the system's ports. Imperial ships moved in. Human ships were already there, not blocking, not threatening, just present. Two fleets faced each other. No weapons aimed, no warnings issued. For 3 days, nothing happened. On the 4th day, the system's defense grid shut down. Not sabotaged, transferred. Human engineers had helped modernize it months earlier. Control keys had been shared. The Imperial fleet found itself locked out of targeting systems across the entire region. The message arrived seconds later. "This escalation is unnecessary. Please disengage." Imperial commanders demanded permission to fire. None came. The Emperor stared at the report, silent. Zyrakel spoke before she could stop herself. "They're not winning battles," she said. "They're removing reasons to fight." The Emperor turned toward her. "You speak as if that matters." "It does," Zyrakel replied, "because every move you make now proves them right." The Emperor dismissed her. But doubt had already spread. Humanity had not formed an alliance against the Empire. They had simply made cooperation without the Empire easier. Trade shifted. Information flowed. Imperial influence weakened without a single shot fired. Near the frontier, human soldiers trained harder than ever. Not for invasion, for endurance. They rotated units, shared lessons. Simulated worst-case scenarios the Empire refused to imagine. They planned for failure. Zyrakel understood that mindset. It was how humans survived, and how empires fell. A quiet report reached the Council. Human colonies had begun joint defense talks. Not openly, not as a bloc, but enough. The Emperor closed his claws slowly. "They are preparing for war," he said. Zyrakel looked at him. "No," she said. "They are preparing for what comes after." The Emperor did not understand, but soon he would. The Empire chose speed over thought. That was how Zyrakel knew it was ending. A sealed order moved through command channels, bypassing debate and ignoring analysis. It carried the Emperor's mark alone. Operation Final Authority. The goal was no longer control. It was shock. A concentrated strike would fall on a human military training world. Not a civilian colony, not a trade hub, a place filled with soldiers. The Empire believed the message would be clear. "You can prepare all you want. We still decide when war begins." Zyrakel felt cold as she read the order. "They will not forgive this," she whispered. The intelligence officer beside her looked pale. "It will end their patience." "That ended long ago," Zyrakel replied. "This will end their restraint." She requested an emergency audience. The Emperor refused. The fleet launched within the hour. Hundreds of Imperial ships folded into transit, emerging near the human system with overwhelming force. Sensors flared, weapons charged. For the first time, the Empire did not hide its intent. Human response came immediately. Not with panic, with precision. Every civilian ship in the system was already gone. Stations powered down and evacuated in minutes. Defense platforms activated in patterns unfamiliar to Imperial scanners. Human fleets appeared. But not as a wall, they formed layers, depth. The Imperial Admiral hesitated. "This is not how they defend," he said. "No," his tactical officer replied. "This is how they absorb." The first Imperial volley fired, human shields held. Not because they were stronger, because they were distributed, energy bled across networks, redirected, grounded. Imperial commanders adjusted targeting. The humans adjusted faster. Across the system, small human strike groups moved. Not toward the main fleet, toward the edges. Supply vessels, command relays, sensor hubs, nothing exploded. Systems simply went dark. The Imperial Admiral felt dread settle into his chest. "They're dismantling us," he said, "without killing us." Back on the capital world, Zyrakel watched the battle unfold in silence. "They're trying to save you," she whispered. The intelligence officer stared at her. "Why?" he asked. "Because humans plan for the future," Zyrakel replied. "Not revenge." The Emperor appeared in the chamber as reports flooded in. "Why are they not retreating?" he demanded. An officer answered carefully. "They are not advancing either, Majesty." The Emperor froze. "What?" "They are holding us in place," the officer continued. "Reducing our options." The truth struck too late. The Empire had committed too much force to too small a space. Human fleets closed the outer lanes, not with ships, with influence. Allied systems denied passage. Repair docks refused service. Communications slowed. The Empire was isolated. Zyrakel stepped forward. "End this," she said. "Withdraw now." The Emperor stared at her. "You would have us kneel?" "No," Zyrakel said. "You would have us survive." The Emperor turned away. The order came, escalate. The humans had anticipated it. The moment Imperial weapons shifted to maximum output, human command issued a single message across the system. "This escalation is unnecessary. This is your final warning." The Empire ignored it. Human ships responded, not with fire. With release, every piece of data the humans had gathered, every weakness, every inefficiency, every overextension, it was transmitted openly, across Imperial networks, to allies, to rivals, to neutral observers. The galaxy watched as the Empire's image cracked in real time. Fleets stalled. Coordination failed. Authority weakened. The Imperial Admiral received the withdrawal order too late. Half his fleet could not move. The rest escaped only because the humans let them. The battlefield fell silent. Human ships held position for hours, then they left. Zyrakel sank into her seat. "It's over," the intelligence officer said softly. "No," Zyrakel replied. "It's decided." Across the galaxy, consequences spread. Allied systems reevaluated treaties, trade routes shifted. Neutral powers began quiet talks. With humans, the Empire remained intact, but diminished. For the first time in its history, it had struck first, and failed to control the outcome. The Emperor retreated from public view. Zyrakel stood alone later, staring out at the stars. She remembered what humans had been doing since the beginning. They had not been avoiding war. They had been choosing the moment when war would no longer be necessary. The war did not end with victory parades. There were no burning worlds, no shattered capitals, no songs written in triumph. Instead, there was silence. The kind of silence that follows a truth everyone now understands. The Galactic Empire still existed, but it was no longer unquestioned. Across its territory, systems paused. Fleets remained docked longer than usual. Trade convoys rerouted through safer, human-aligned lanes. Old allies asked careful questions instead of offering loyalty. The Empire had learned something it could not unlearn. Power was no longer enough. Zyrakel watched the changes unfold from a quiet station orbiting a neutral world. She had been released from observation after the battle. No apology was offered, none was needed. They all knew she had been right. "They should have listened," an aide said softly. Zyrakel nodded. "They did," she replied. "Too late." Humanity did not press its advantage. That unsettled everyone. There were no demands for territory, no ultimatums, no declarations of dominance. Human fleets withdrew to their own space. Open channels remained. Trade agreements stayed active. Joint security talks continued. They did not rule, they influenced. On Earth, leaders addressed their people in calm, simple words. "We were tested," one speaker said, "and we chose restraint." Human soldiers returned to training fields. Lessons from the conflict were archived, shared, refined, not to celebrate victory, to avoid repetition. The Empire tried to restore its image. The Emperor reappeared in public, speaking of unity and strength. Few believed him. The galaxy had seen too much. Zyrakel was invited to speak before a restructured council, not as a warning voice this time, as a witness. "You fought humans," a delegate said to her. "Why did they stop?" Zyrakel thought for a long moment. "Because they knew what came next," she said. "If they kept going, they would become what they were resisting." The chamber fell silent. They plan for loss, she continued. They plan for failure. They plan for the day they might be wrong, another delegate asked quietly. Are they dangerous? Zyrakel answered honestly. Yes, but not in the way you think. The council leaned in. They remember every lesson, she said, especially the ones that hurt. Trade between humans and former imperial allies grew steadily. Joint defense groups formed. Not against the Empire, against instability. When asked to lead, humans refused. When asked to advise, they accepted. That balance reshaped everything. The Empire slowly adapted, or faded, depending on the region. Some commanders learned. Others were replaced. The Emperor remained, but his voice no longer carried the same weight. Years later, Zyrakel visited a human military academy as a guest observer. Young soldiers trained under open skies. Instructors spoke about mistakes. Not heroics, mistakes. A cadet asked her a simple question. Why do humans avoid war? Zyrakel smiled sadly. Because they know what it costs, she said. The cadet frowned. But they won? Zyrakel shook her head. They did not win, she said. They endured. On the edge of human space, a quiet memorial stood. No statues of enemies, no lists of victories, just words carved into metal. Prepared, not provoked. Ready, not reckless. Zyrakel stood there for a long time. She finally understood. Humans were not the galaxy's conquerors. They were its reminder. That war was not a test of strength. It was a test of listening. The Empire had failed that test. Humanity had passed, and the galaxy would never forget which mattered more.